Oh, yeah.
Bless and love, my lords. Welcome to another Red Lion Live interview. I'm joined here today by Dudley, our co-host and co-founder of the Red Lion
Hey,
Project. How's it going, Dudley?
welcome to the show. Yeah, let's go.
I'm very excited today. We have John Orion Young, Joy, with us. I'm a huge fan. How are you doing, John?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. We had this interview scheduled for like last week, but like I was in Paris and I was like outside of the NFT factory, and my friend was calling me and he was like, "Oh, they're looking for you. You
Yeah,
have an interview
it was
tonight."
T. I DM'd him and was, oh, wait, I will call him, on the cell phone. And was like, and
Yeah,
then he rushed into the
yeah.
Discord. Oh, guys, there's a spaces.
When you sent me the note, the way I read it, I thought he was lost. I thought you like Redline was lost in somewhere in the air. Like his plane was lost, and I panicked for a second. I was like, "What? No!" And then I was like, "Oh, I see." Like because I like went back and read it a couple times. I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm very tired right now. I guess." Like,
Yeah. No, I
it's amazing.
understand, but
I'm
like,
glad you were safe and sound.
mm, no,
I was like,
we
he's lost,
planned
like in
it.
the air.
We planned the interview, and then like it was very spontaneous, the decision to go to Paris. So of course I'm not the type of person who goes and meticulously updates the calendar. I should, but anyways, apologies. We made it
No
work.
sweat. I love it. I love
Thank you
spontaneity.
so much for coming, man. This has been an interview I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Wait, have we ever talked in person other than we talked in text messages or in JoyWorld or in
Well,
DMs? Or just
I
like
have heard your voice before, but I'm not sure if we chatted
I think
directly,
this is our
right?
first like direct. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think this is our, so. Hello. I just want to say hello to you.
Hello. Yeah.
So good to hear you.
So good, man. So good. I am a fan, as I said, for a long time. Big shout out to Satman, who was one of the OGs I first met entering the space, and he actually introduced your art to me. So big shout out to him.
Amazing. I'm wild. I
Let's
love
go.
Satman so much.
Yeah. He's really nice. I know him. One of the first people I met in the space, actually.
Yeah, same. He's a very early joy collector. Yeah, I just remember the early days of like basically like being in Discord, and it was just like it was like Devil, and when it was like uh
Mm.
Whale Shark, and there
Jimmy.
was Satman, and there was the Jimmy, and there was like you, and there was just like this very like small just group
Oh
of
no, I
friends, but
wasn't.
it's just so cool
I
just to
wasn't
see
that
everyone
early.
around.
It's
Yeah, I know,
unfair
but
to
like
these guys
eventually, I
who
was just saying
mentioned
kind of
me.
like the, I was kind of like saying like an evolution of just like collectors coming in, um, and just like
Yes,
how wild
exactly.
that is. Like Satman brought you in, but like I think like at one point like Jimmy gave or like sold like a milk maker to Statman at like a really low price. It was like oh, there's just this like evolution of like friends just like inviting people in, right? And that's why I always think it's so cool. Is like really it's just like I think sometimes artists like act like collectors aren't also people too, and aren't also like
Mm.
equally contributing their it's like a relationship or like a partnership, you have like a collector and an artist, and it's like they're also like such an important person, and they have friends, and their friends bring them into like your world or your art. So I just think it's like, oh, that's such a beautiful thing. So again, it's just so cool to
It's
talk to you in person. So I don't mean to be off on a
and
side
very
tangent or anything.
no worries. We don't have scripted questions here. But let's take a step back, man. Like let's you are super OG. I don't know if you like the term or not. Sometimes when people call me OG, I cringe a little bit.
I
But
do cringe a little bit, but I'm also like I love it too. Whatever people want to say, like sometimes
but
people are
it's
like, should I
true,
call you
man.
John or
It's
Joy? I'm
true.
like, call me whatever.
You've been so early in creating this amazing world, but let's start when you first came into the space and you minted your first work. So how was the experience for you firsthand, like coming into a super early NFT space? What were your thoughts then, and how that evolved?
Oh, wow. Have I been wrong? And like most of the time, I've been right some of the times, you know? So it's like, as long as, I don't know, it kind of balances out over time. But when I first came into this space, it was, of course, like through CryptoKitties, like 2017. But I was also kind of coming from an approach of like, quite a few years before that, I wanted to build like JoyWorld. I thought it's like I want to build like this world of creativity, and then like I was wanting to make stuff in 3D, and I couldn't figure out how to make stuff in 3D. And I saw virtual reality. I got into making painting and stuff in virtual reality, and that's like 2016. And one day I was like painting on the side of a hill, like some grass, and I was like, one day everybody could like own a blade of this grass, and like then like own the whole piece or the whole artwork or like the world or whatever it becomes. And so I started trying to figure out how to like build JoyWorld and like fun, and like it was like I couldn't like build it without kind of funding it. And then then you go into the VC world. At the time I was like living in San Francisco, so I was like seeking funding, and I was meeting with like friends who worked at Oculus, and a lot of people gave me great advice. They're like, JoyWorld should definitely exist, but you shouldn't like take funding because they'll ruin it basically, or you'll have to sell it, or you'll have to like turn it into something you don't want. So I kind of just kept trying to figure out, well, like how can you own digital art? Like, because I came from like a background of like physical art and paintings. I grew up like my dad's an artist, so I've always been in the art world, and so I've come from this like physical world of like, and then I got into digital world, right? And I'm like just stepping in at at that moment, when I'm making stuff in virtual reality. I'm like, how do you own a virtual thing? And I kept looking and looking, and that's about the time I came across like CryptoKitties, and I was like, wow, you can own a virtual object. And I started playing with that a lot. And then uh, I wanted to figure out, uh, I wanted to figure out, like more, like I want to see more. So I came across like this crypto gaming community, and I got way into that. And it was like every day a dev would show up with like a new thing they built, and then everyone would just play like with that project. And a lot of the stuff was like more conceptual and more like game based and time based mechanics, and less about the object you were owning. And then that led me to like what were called hot potato contracts, where you could own like a thing. Like we were trading like a Picasso, you could own like a Picasso, and then you could like take it from somebody. And so I really wanted to build that. I was like, I love this idea. This could be like a whole. I wanted to build a lot more onto that, because I was like, this could be like a whole new way to have
This the
auctions.
early stages of flipping NFTs then?
Of what kind of NFTs?
Flipping.
Yeah, it was very early flipping NFTs, because what would happen is like a dev would show up and be all, I minted all of Monet's work, and then like everyone would just flip it, and that's all you would do. And then at some point, somebody would be holding the bag or holding the hot potato, right, and get burned, and then the contract would go away, but or the project would go away. But something that was really, really fascinating at that time to me also was sometimes the front end would go away. Somebody would quit or wouldn't want to play anymore, and they just delete it, and then everyone would want to still play, so they would just build a front end again, and they would pick up the tokens and start playing again. So I was like, this means that artwork could like last forever out here, basically. And it could always just kind of, somebody could pick up the token and kind of evolve it or put a new front end onto the token. Like I remember there was like kitty hats and all these different things where you could modify a crypto kitty. So I was just like, this is the most incredible thing, because there's like not only ownership of like a digital item, but like tradability. Like I love Andy Warhol and then Takashi Murakami, and how they challenge like capitalism and art. And so I love how this is like hyper capitalist art. It's like it's 24/7 around the clock. Like everyone's like trading in and speculating on it. It's like so crazy. And so I was like, this is like that's kind of the point of where we are in the art conversation. So it all just makes sense to me. And at that time, I was in San Francisco, and Devin and Alex just started OpenSea, and they were in San Francisco before they moved to New York. Um, and I remember like calling like different people from like Super Rare, like John Crane, and then meeting Devin and getting coffee with him, and he was telling me like OpenSea will be like eBay for like items. And then he offered to mint all the joys initially, and I was like, yes. So like I kind of agreed with him to, yeah, you'll mint the first joys with me. And then I went home and I kept agonizing over it. And I started messaging him. I was like, no, I want to build a hot potato, like make OpenSea work with hot potatoes. And he's like, no. And so I just like told him no. And then I like ended up building my own contract and like website and stuff by like taking a Udemy course. And kind of went my own way, and that's where I kind of like, it's very strange because people are like, you're an OG, or like some people call me like an OG, like, because it's really weird. Like I didn't start on a platform, so I would actually be like on the first page of Super Rare, you know, if I would have just minted on Super Rare. It'd be like the first thing in OpenSea if I would have minted on OpenSea. But instead I just went and built my own thing, because with all this I was learning, I was like, this is like total independence for artists, right? Like an artist can just mint something into the chain and nobody can tell you no. And if everybody likes
Absolutely.
it and like trades it and believes in it over time, you know, if you keep believing in it, you know, then that grows naturally like that. There's no gatekeeping. Of course there is now, and there's more manipulation and craziness and rugs and, you know, like startups building like PFPs and then like building mechanics just flip it 24/7 to like FOMO everybody into it. So it's beyond my even comprehension, most of it now at this point. But I was like, that's kind of where I came in, and like, so yeah, maybe I was a bit ahead, but now maybe I'm a bit like trying to just catch up and learn. And that's why I built like the Joy Smileys project, because I was like, I kind of look at PFPs, I'm like, oh, that's kind of silly, or I don't know, you know, I'd be thinking about it, and I was like, I didn't think it was that complex to build, so I was like, I'll just build one, you know, and I just jumped into VR and started sculpting. I ended up sculpting thousands of layers because I'd have to compress, you know, 3 or 4 different layers and to make like a set of lips, or so it's like ends up being. And then in Medium you can only sculpt like 200. I think it's like 200 or 150 layers. So I'd sculpt like all these layers in virtual reality. It ended up being like 10 different like complete sets of files that then I compressed into one file. It was madness. But I was just like, the whole time I was just like, this is really, really fun. And I kind of believe in like beginner's mind is like the best attitude to have. So I was kind of like, I'm just gonna
Yes, I
forget
agree.
about, yeah, I'm just gonna forget about the past. You know, I think if you think about the past too much, you're psychotic. Like that's just like psychosis to just keep thinking about the past. Like I'm an OG. Like people should see me out here. You know, to like be doing something like that. It's just insanity. So it's like you can't do that. So it's just like, if I just were to start today, what would I do? So that's what I did. I was like, I would make a PFP project. This looks really fun, you know. And so I kind of, there's some traits in there that kind of like honor PFPs. I kind of tease them. I don't even think anybody notices the kind of things that are kind of teasing. And then there's kind of like nods to things like I like The Simpsons. There's a bunch of Simpsons like characters in there. It's because like as a kid, I grew up watching The Simpsons, and I learned about the world kind of backwards. So I learned about a lot of like history and events through The Simpsons, and then later learned about them in reality. So I was like, that's such a weird. I don't know. It's something that that's
Simpsons
why I
did
think
it.
maybe all the
Simpsons did it.
characters are yellow.
Simpsons did it.
Yeah, The Simpsons. Yeah, there's so many things. You know, I see like just different events or different references that as a kid too I didn't even understand what I was watching really. You know, but then it's like it's such an impact on you, and then it's like you start learning about stuff in real life, and it's like it's kind of backwards, and I think that's in some ways why I make the art that I do, which is trying to challenge what is real and what is fake. You know, and like go between those two dimensions. I don't know.
Man,
That's kind of where I'm at with that.
much respect for taking the tough route, and creating your own contract and keeping true to the real creative economy that Ethereum had to offer so early on. And you being a visionary and you being able to see it, and you didn't cave in to drop with Super Rare and Nifty Gateway and all that craziness. I know you could have, and you would be on the pantheon of early mints, but you opted to stay true to your vision and create JoyWorld in a complete way, in an artistic perfection way, so mad respect for that, man. That is always something
Thank
that
you so much.
fascinated me about JoyWorld since I started.
Because I was crazy and like a control freak, and I was like getting on calls. I was like getting on calls with everybody, telling everybody they were wrong, and like, and then now I meet people in person, and they're so nice to me. Or like met Dave from like Known Origin, and he's like, we came up with like how we do our next price model based on how you did the flipping and the hot potato on your interface. So it's like sometimes I kind of I'm like, oh, I kind of think and regret like I should have just put art everywhere, because I think that actually it benefits everybody if an artist just creates everything they want to create and puts out everything they want to put out. I actually think it's a blessing when somebody makes something. Sometimes we may see something go crazy and get jealous of it or feel envious of it, and those are like natural feelings because we're all kind of trained into a scarcity mindset. But it's like I think it's truly a blessing whenever anything new comes out. So sometimes in the past I tried to hold back, and I was like, I can't make too much stuff, or I need to be really careful. But I think it might have been to a detriment of the development of JoyWorld, because a lot of people weren't able to see it or come participate in it,
Not necessarily
or at
though.
least
Like
like
it's a
challenge their
learning
mind.
curve. I mean, like this is a
It's a learning
question
curve, right?
all artists have to answer about scarcity of their work and their tokenomics, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, like, if you look at the mass amount of stuff I actually make in real life, like I like have a sewing machine. I'm like sewing, painting. Like I make lots of stuff, and I also make lots of stuff in VR that I never really share.
Man,
And that kind of
and
comes
that's
down to curation. You have to kind of like be
mhm.
able to curate yourself and decide
Yeah.
what's actually worth like bothering everybody for, because everybody has such a short attention span. It's like you only have so much to like do, so you got to kind of like keep the storyline that you want to like present, and not get it too crazy, I guess.
Yeah, and your project, like I was so attracted that everything is so complete. Like even from the early promo material you were doing, like you dress up all in yellow, you wear your apparel, and you show
Yeah, I
your
only have
art.
yellow in all my clothes. I threw away. I donated all of my other clothes. I
So
was just like, I'm never gonna buy any other clothes. I'm sick of them.
yeah,
Just like
it was.
yellow.
Yeah, so like the feeling you get, like when you see the artist like living inside Joy World, you get like, oh man, Joy World is really amazing, and it's something that I want to be a part of, and
That
this is
makes me
what
so happy to hear.
captivated me, that it's a complete art project, and like I appreciate the thoughtfulness and the whole planning and idea shaping of the concept. A lot of things people don't see, but it's absolutely brilliant, man. I'm a
Thank
big
you.
fan.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. Yeah, with that, like, I
mhm.
guess I want to say, like, the reason it's that way is because I refuse to make anything that I wouldn't want to own myself, that I wouldn't be, like, excited to own. So, like, the Smileys actually I kept pulling it multiple times because I just felt like I would see one, I'd be like, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want this one or that one. And so it's like it's all kind of like flat in a way. It's not like these are grails and these people got crappy ones and these ones got good ones. I tried to kind of just make it almost as flat as possible, because it's like if I got handed anything, I'd want like a really good one. So
Mm.
I think that's important as an artist. Like I kind of like at one point I went like in 2018 I kind of basically went super into debt to keep trying to build JoyWorld, and so it's like I was like living off my credit cards, and then like somebody would like flip it on the hot potato contract and I'd get a dividend, which I don't think artists can live off of dividends. I learned that with like the hot potato, even though I give most of my art away, especially like the early stuff. I don't think you can live off dividends. It's kind of crazy because that hot potato contract, that's all I got. I would sell all the joys for $1, and then I'd get 10% of every trade. That was like one of the first dividend contracts. Um, and so, uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a side tangent, but yeah, I think it's because I went way into debt building Joy World. I feel like anything I make, I don't think anybody should ever go into debt for buying art or anything, but I feel like if I make something, I'd have to be willing to go into debt to own the thing, like to be willing to just like let somebody else own it and to feel good that it's out there, I guess. I don't know. I'm a bit of a control freak, I guess, and a bit neurotic,
That's
but I just
that,
want like a certain look and
that's
things.
That's nice, man. You stay true to your vision. I don't think you're a control freak. Maybe a little bit, when you're creating, you might feel like that. But when we see the result, we can see why.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. It's worth the wait too. I'm a bit of a tortoise, but I kind of like a thing I really love with NFTs that I don't think is explored enough is the idea of like over the air updates. Um, there's like a lot of like we want it to last forever, but I'm kind of interested in things that can like upgrade more and more over time. Um, that's like the idea of just like
And
a
the
lot of
people
the
are
there's like
also
really
interested in that. I think a lot of collections that employ
yeah.
mechanics like that also did really well in terms of value. People appreciate them a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, it's fun whenever something can like get better over time. A
Hmm.
lot of the really early virtual reality art was made on devices that were like the size of like the size of giant rooms. And there's no because they didn't keep upgrading the file types. There's no way to view them, and the machines are gone. So that art is lost forever. So I think it's actually good to have some form of upgradability.
Digital entropy, yeah? That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Like maybe like the way Apple takes all your like JPEGs and then turns them into their like high efficiency format or whatever it's called. Um,
mhm.
they're like they like try and like push the JPEG the PNG out. They're like no more PNG, but it's like everything's PNG, but who knows for how long?
You have three collections now in the Joy World. So you have the Joys, right? The
Yes.
classic one out of ones that we all know and love and made Joy World famous. And then every collector gets to create with you a Joy toy, right? And they decide alongside with you the collection edition size and the price, and the funds are being split between you and the collector, which I thought it was a brilliant mechanic that you also innovated. And now you just dropped the PFP basically as a reward to all the collectors.
Yeah.
Do you have any more collections planned, or how do you see them evolving into the future altogether?
Yeah. So yeah, I do have another collection plan that actually I'm making like a small video that will show like what happens after Joy Smileys. So basically we have joys, and joys are one-on-one beings, and joys have magic powers. Like so, each joy has a very unique one-on-one magic power to it. And whenever you carry a joy with you, you inherit that power, or that magic. Sorry, I didn't mean to say power. They're magic because the joy toys have powers, and powers are not quite the same as magic. So like powers like the ability to like create something. Um, and so Joy Toys are still getting started, and there's just a lot of complexity to how we built the file type, and I actually learned a lot of lessons during this process of really releasing Smileys. I learned a lot about IPFS and how to better serve stuff, and because basically joy toys have like a multi-dimensional file. They're very complex to build. Like one joy toy, like a set of joy toys, is crazy to build. It's very difficult, just to make like one.
Why?
So because each joy toy, basically inside of the contract has a slot for it where every type of file gets uploaded for it. So each joy toy has a PNG. It has an animated PNG for like a high res movie format. Um, it has a GIF for like a low res movie format. Then it has uh, sorry, what am I thinking? The GLB for VR, and then an IPF or I forgot this one too. The one for Apple, for AR.
Is it
So there's basically
H
oh not
E?
Not Hake.
See.
The one I always talk about. It's surprise is slipping my mind.
I don't
Anyways, my mind is on the next collection I've been sculpting all day on. So basically, there's a file type for every type of format. So you can see it in augmented reality, you can see it in virtual reality, you have a picture of it. And then also there's a Vox file for crypto voxels. So, and then they're all
So
loaded in the
there's a lot of
contract.
content for each Joy Toy, right?
Yeah, and the idea was that I could put it in IPFS, right, and then I could just keep adding stuff to the folders, and then linking to the files. But then basically, nobody really adopted that. And the way it works now is everyone just reads a JSON sheet that has everything listed in it. But when you mint a toy, it's like very complex. How when you mint a toy and the numbers are assigned to it, it's all very complex. So it's just something. Actually, I wish I would make more toys more quickly, but it's just something that I'm kind of building like a better process for to build it out in the future. And then yeah, with that, I've learned like a lot about what I'm taking over to Joy, so that we can get Joys into AR and VR and get them like properly sized. So it's just like a lot of learning. Basically, I'm learning, as we say.
Yeah, I can totally relate
I'm
to
just
that,
so
man.
grateful that everybody's like, yeah, let's go, and are willing to like go along with me as we explore it. But yeah, this is
It's
what
a
I want to
beautiful
do. So
thing. It's a beautiful thing, though.
yeah, that's why I only build it in my name, because then I can't sell this thing. I don't want to sell this. There's like it's here forever. I will make sure it's forever, and then make sure that the collectors own it if beyond me. So yeah, JoyWorld's just through and through like an art project that's all about like me like expressing myself. And then because this is what I love about NFTs is there can be a symbiotic relationship between like you and I. We don't need a MoMA to decide that like this is art, and and then you go, okay, this is art, and then you can go buy something in the gift shop that agrees that that you saw this art. So it's like we just have this great one-on-one relationship where you're owning the exact energy of like the art that I made, and then we put it into the internet, and you can like hold it. Um, so I just want to keep building that, expanding that, and trying to basically build. Before like last year I spent almost too much time trying to build like my place to get everything on my own website. And what I realized is I wasn't putting enough effort into the art, and then also like trying to learn and expand the technology into like building art. So that's more where my head's at.
I think Dudley has a question about the
Yeah,
smiley
yeah.
and the
Dudley,
rendering.
I will get to it. I have another question first. I was curious, like, what was the moment, the genesis of the yellow? Like, were you obsessed by the color from your young age, or was it actually just
Very good
started
question.
doing the VR? And what was the first VR one, or how was this? How was this yellow character kind of genesis? Was it like you played in the VR and then you came to it and you made another?
yeah.
How it started? That's what I want to know.
That's a great question. Yeah. So whenever I was a kid, so my initials actually, my name's John Orion Young, so my initials JOY are Joy. But I never really knew that as a kid very much. And then when I go to a barber and they'd cut my hair, they'd call me Smiley there. They always called me Smiley because I never talked as a child. I didn't talk hardly at all. I just like smile a lot. So I had like some early influences of that. Like in my teens and early 20s, I just wore like all black, and I was like more like a minimalist. I like listen to heavy metal, and listen to speed metal.
Was that in the teen years?
Yeah. And so I did that for quite a few years. And I was also like, I was living in Vermont, and I worked for this like bike company building these like badass, like minimalist bikes. And I was like all into minimalism. And then uh, and then I like went to California, and it wasn't quite being in California, but while I was out there, that was whenever I was trying to I wanted to get way back into making art, but I wanted to be able to make like everything with nothing. I wanted, because I used to like paint and make, you know, hundreds of paintings, and it ended up being this huge body of paintings. But I wanted to be able to like make lots of stuff, but with nothing, because I was just in this small apartment in San Francisco. And that's where I kept looking for like a tool that would allow me to just like sculpt in my apartment. And then I found virtual reality. Um, and actually spending a lot of time in virtual reality. I would like wake up in the morning. I would get up at like 4 in the morning, and I go into virtual reality and I paint for like 3 or 4 hours. Actually, to the point where I was almost just sick every time. Because I couldn't stop. I was very addicted to it. And then I go to work. I worked for this really cool math and science education company called Brilliant, and I would like try to convince them we shouldn't build stuff for phones or for flat interfaces anymore. We should just build for virtual reality. And I was basically like, maybe to my detriment, basically stopped working with them because I was like, no, it's all going to be virtual reality. And I didn't know what to do. I was literally, I think the virtual reality might have started making me lose my mind a bit. And at that time, I stopped wearing black and all these like dark colors. And I started wearing, actually, I was wearing like red, yellow, and blue. I was wearing this like just this tie-dye drip because there was like this cool like person gave me this weird tie-dye drip, so I just wear that like every day. And then I just kept evolving, and then I took all my clothes and like bleached them out and dyed them like multicolor, and I just kept wearing all these colors. And then I'd like shop for clothes or shop for things, and I realized, I think I had heard like Obama or something didn't, like, he only had like one color suit or one type of suit or something, or I can't remember who did, but one type of suit, and they'd always wear it so they didn't have to think too much. So, and Steve Jobs did that. I was like, I like that. So anytime I like have to buy like a new pair of socks or something, I just type in yellow. And because what happens is it's the least thing for like men's clothes, especially I'm like 6'2", so it's like for me it's like the rarest thing to find. So I just search for that, and then I can get the yellow thing. Then I can go back to virtual reality and work on JoyWorld. So it's actually just somewhat just like I just love the color. That's like the long story of how it evolved. But I do, when you said, like when Dudley said it was like virtual reality, I think it might have been maybe too much time in virtual reality. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
spent a lot of time in Tilt Brush,
So you're probably
and at the
motion
time
resistant. Quite.
huh?
Your motion
Yeah,
sickness
yeah.
are resistant. Yeah, already for
Yeah, I
spend.
probably only have like one seizure a week now at this point. Just like if you don't have enough water, like if you don't have your headset set properly, you should always check all that stuff. If it's kind of tilted a little bit off, like you'll get sick.
You
Actually,
use
I do get.
Oculus? The Oculus?
Yeah, I'm using an Oculus Quest Pro right now.
Hmm.
Newest one.
I'm gonna, yeah, and then
Newest.
I ordered a HTC the XR
Why?
Elite.
Oh, yeah.
I basically try every virtual reality headset. It's like the only thing. It's like my only obsession. Like some people buy like sports cars. I'm like, oh my god, a virtual reality headset. Like maybe
Hmm.
that's gonna be the one.
The
And
new
then whenever you're in,
generations are going to be much cooler, I think. It's not quite there yet right now.
Red, you have
I
Quest 2.
think the
Yeah.
yeah, I have a Quest 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a Vive. I have a Vive, like the original. I have an old Oculus, and then I have basically every generation Oculus. And what I what I found is they keep getting heavier and heavier and weirder. And whenever you go pick up the really early Oculus, it's pretty light. And I've been kind of looking for, because whenever you spend a couple hours and then your neck, like the back of your neck starts to hurt, 'cause it's like, you know, any weight on your head and these awkward helmets and stuff. I used to weld a lot as a kid, and that wasn't even as like heavy as like this thing is. Um, so I'm always like looking for, if I could just shave off a little bit more weight, you know, then you can spend another hour, you know, sculpting, because you have to go in for like an hour or two, and then you got to come out for like, you know, 15 minutes or an hour, then you can go back in. So I'm always just looking for anything that will, like, you know, if I can have like 2 more months, because I sculpted all the smileys in this Quest Pro. You know, it's only been out for 3 months, and I finished the pet artist, which was the last joy I created, inside of this headset too. So it's like, and this was a vast improvement in
Oh,
color and in accuracy. So
yeah. I want
I
to ask
just go
about
for it.
smileys actually, how did you manage to combine all the layers? And there's a lot of reflections of different mouse colors and all this stuff. How is it technically done? Are they
Yeah, did you render one by
one
one?
by, or just some sets of materials, or combinations? How is it done?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. It's very complex. So what I did actually is I built like a set. I sculpted like 4 or 5 different smileys. I was trying to make it as close to like the JoyWorld logo, to just kind of be like, this is like the JoyWorld, right? And just like as like a very basic kind of like simple mini to start with, because minis, there'll be like lots of sets of minis, and minis have luck as their kind of like joy magic. Um, so anyways, I want to be able to sculpt those minis, so that's where I kind of got into like, how am I going to do this? And so I sculpted like 4 or 5 different heads, and then I like put them in Cinema 4D, and I looked at all of them, and then I got this like last one that kind of fit. I just kept going back in virtual reality, and I kind of tweak it. Then you export this, like it's like a 3 gig file. You like export it. I export it into the cloud actually, and then I grab it on another computer, pull it into Cinema 4D, check it, and like adjust the fit, adjust the lighting. It's just constantly just adjust it, and then try something else, adjust it. And then once I got it where I really liked it, I basically went in, I started sculpting layers. And in hindsight now, after looking at everything, I'm like, I could like, so for the, basically I'm like, this, I'm just going to do it, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I just started sculpting layers. So there's like a wooden nose, I think is like one of the first things I sculpted, or like wooden lips. And I was like, that's cool. And then like I took that and I put it back into Cinema 4D, and I checked the fit. And then once I started to get it to where it worked that way, I got more like brave, and I do bigger, like crazier sculpts. Of course, like the one where the smileys are everywhere, like doing like a layer like that ends up taking, 8 hours or so. So like sculpting a virtual reality, it's very intense like process. And then you have to like break the ice. Like I said, you get a mini seizure, you get sick, and then you have to go to lay down or something. It's just like, it's like, if it's a balance, it's a weird balancing act. But it's so much faster, and it's so much more expressive to be able to sculpt with your hands than it is like to just sculpt on a computer. So I just think it's worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it basically just layered, just kept sculpting. I'd sculpt another set of lips, and then I'd hide it. I'd sculpt another set of lips, and then I'd hide it, sculpt another set of lips and hide it. And then you turn all the lips on. You could do 150 layers at a time. And then I'd put those in the Cinema 4D. I mesh them all down. You have to do a remesh on all of them. And then you have to do a polygon reduction, and then a remesh on them. Um, and then that all takes a while. Actually, at the time I was using Chat GPT, and I learned how to write scripts to be able to script some of this work. And I ended up cutting like multiple hours off my work to be able to just script it. Because I don't like working on the computer. I just want to be in VR, and sculpting, I don't want to be on the computer like picking textures and stuff. It's not as fun. So I love the whole process, but it's just not quite like being in VR, to be on a screen. But yeah, it's just back and forth. I ended up being like, I think like 10 different like files that all had about 150 layers, and then stacking all those, and then meshing those all down. And then I built it all into Cinema 4D into layers, then set the lighting again, just the lighting. And in the end, what kept taking time was the lighting took so much time because, uh, I'll explain it further. Basically, like I use this thing called a Collie variant generator, and that's how I could build like a variance of things. And it's basically a set of frames. So it ends up being 10,000 frames, like a movie frame. And then each one is every different set of everything on and off. All the layers turned on and off for each different frame, basically. I don't know if that makes sense. And then when I went to render it the first time, my computer was like, I have a very substantial, like strong computer, but it was like, I wanted to render it in 4K, and it was like, this is gonna take. My computer was estimating, it was like, what was it? It was like 6 days, like 12 hours or something. I was like, oh no. And so I was like, it's not gonna work. And I built it in Cinema 4D with Redshift. So I was like, that's not gonna work. So I went and rebuilt everything into Octane. That took like a whole day, and rebuilt everything in Octane, and then I had to rebuild the lighting so that then I could use the render network. And what I would do is I'd export 1,000 frames at a time, put them in the render network, pay to render them in the render network, which that would only take a couple hours, and then pull them back down. But then also what I didn't realize is whenever you pull like 1,000 4K frames into your computer gets confused and doesn't know which order to put. Like it'll lose some of them. It doesn't always get
Oh
them all.
shit.
And so I'd be like, oh no, like frame 4,220 is gone. Or like sometimes the render cloud will jam through stuff too fast, So I run it on the slower machines because actually it does better, but you'll miss like gold texture on this one will be gone. I'm like, oh no. And so you're checking everything, rendering it, pulling it down, like looking it over, and
Yeah.
then what I ended up doing is there's a type of program. I asked ChatGPT. I kept asking ChatGPT what to do. I was all, what do I do? ChatGPT, I need to pull down 10,000 frames. And so there's things that are called download managers that will like organize it for you, and you could just copy all the frames and then pull them down.
Is it because you need very fast write on your hard drive? I think I had this problem
you need
with
a really
my
powerful
360
GPU.
camera. Oh, GPU, okay.
For rendering, because rendering, it's a very graphical intensive process.
Mhm.
And when you render it in the cloud, what happens is it basically just activates like 40 machines all at once, and so you're like rendering on like 40 computers all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it costs some money, but it's nothing compared to if you built all those machines. Because like at one point I was like, okay, so I like got all like my old laptops out. I was like firing up every computer in the house, and I was like, I created my own network. I was like, I'll just render it this way. And then I was like, this is crazy.
The first time we did a 3D cover with Dudley, it was for Beeple, and he downloaded the Cinema 4D software Saturday morning, and we had the cover coming out like Sunday night. And yeah, he delivered an amazing cover, man. Like he did it.
That's rad.
And the second time we were like, okay, let's use the render farm, and that was a very bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work quite for us in the end, but yeah, it was fun. So, and there's like the final stage, is it? You said that you have 10,000 combination, or there's some assembly process, no? Or is it like ready-made smileys? Would you download down from the cloud?
So I would download those files, and what I ended up with was a huge file that was actually like 680 gigs. And then I tried to like just throw it. I just tried to throw the whole file into IPFS, which is like then I learned like most like gateways like have a like 25 gig like maximum, so you need to actually run a whole node to like get it into IPFS. So I ended up bringing down the resolution to like half resolution, which still is like very high for like web. And I ran a process on my computer again because what I usually do is you highlight like 5 pictures and you change the size of them, but when you have 10,000 images and you need to change them all perfectly,
Oh yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, you can use, but it's actually pretty easy. You can use Terminal S. Again, I just keep using an AI to figure out what to do to go faster. But it's like,
but that's
you
really
could just
smart
use
problem
Terminal.
solving, man. That's really smart.
Yeah, that's the first thing I do is just like, all right, what do I do? All right, what do I do? Because I'm a big problem solver because that's what we're doing. That's what
the smile is
problem solving all day.
The smileys look amazing, man, and they are a very classic, PFP, and it's like approaching the PFP as art form, and it's also something that we are doing, and also our collection will drop to our collectors. So that is a beautiful way of doing it and exploring it. I bet, like when there was the PFP mania, you would cringe a little bit if you think about doing a PFP, but as time passes and things mature, you see how it can be approached, I guess, and have an amazing result. And I think Smileys will be one of those classic projects, like everybody knows what a smiley is. And, coming from JoyWorld, it's also the most appropriate place to get a smiley from, right?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's great too. When I saw somebody posted like a picture of their smiley next to like their super smiley slimer, They had those like Joy, it's like the squirt gun, and they had the smiley next to it, and I'm like, they get it, like Joy Minis, they could be like an avatar in Joy World, like you could be like a floating head. A lot of times when you go like in different places in VR chat, there's people who are like floating heads and like are just hands holding toys or different things. So um, I think that there'll be like I think over time there'll be lots and lots of ways to be a joy in Joy World. I'm kind of just not going to stop. I don't know what everybody. I don't know. I hope everybody's not hoping for me to be like super limited or exclusive, because Joy World is now going to be exclusively inclusive. For, I want everybody who wants a joy to get a joy.
That's nice, man, and that's the
I
way to
am the new
expand
agent of
connections.
chaos.
Yeah, that's the only
I'm
way to evolve. You need new collectors. You gotta put the project in front of more people. More people have to own the project, and this is
I
what
want
I also
everybody to be in the
learned.
Joy Army so we can take down
Yeah.
the corporations out here.
we kill them.
That's why Joy World is like that's why Joy World's kind of jokingly it's called Joy World Inc. It's like a corporation. Like I think
Mm.
it's hilarious. It's just
Uh,
like sometimes like it's hard to get my humor. It's always a bit like it's a little bit ornery, I guess, a little bit I don't know, careless.
uh, but you see, big shout out to the people wearing Joy Smileys in the audience.
Yeah, I love you. Oh my
Uh,
god, you're
and
amazing.
to our amazing listeners, Satman is in the audience. Big shout out. As I said, he introduced me to your art, Dijen Bob, God Save the Goat, Darvid. So if any of you guys want to jump in the conversation and ask John a few questions while we're still here, please raise your hand. We'll pass the mic. I have a lot of questions. I will. I'm sure I will have you again on the show another time in the future for sure.
I mean, by the way,
Fantastic. I'm
are we gonna
here.
be in New York? Because voila,
Are you?
voila, book our
Yeah.
flights tonight.
Yeah.
We are so excited to come. So
Where are you from, John?
I'm in Oregon.
Oh
I'm in the
wow,
forest. I'm in the
that's a
forest in Oregon.
that's a beautiful state. I've never been. I've always wanted to go.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's beautiful. It's very like foresty and drippy.
Are you going to be in New York?
For NFT NYC.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You have to.
We'll
You
see.
have to. You have to.
yeah, need to
It's
join us.
going to be so cool. We are so pumped for it.
All right.
Drop a up. You know,
What?
yeah, super price still. But we're gonna play. We're poor, so we cannot afford to host a venue. But so we're gonna just play boombox outside and chill.
That's rad. I'll come to
well,
that.
Yeah.
they stopped me. They stopped me,
Just
John.
hang
I
out
was
on a
like,
stoop.
I was in the process of booking a budget venue.
Oh,
I was like, we have to do it somehow.
Oh my
but,
god.
but they stopped me, so we will stick with my boombox and Central Park.
I like that. Boombox in Central Park. That sounds perfect.
Yes.
I'll
So
go buy some
something
crayons
like
at the
that.
MoMA and bring them over.
For sure, but yeah, we are excited. We're booking the flights now. I went to Paris and it was such a vibe. It was like incredible. I don't know if
Was it fun?
I don't know if every NFT conference is like that, but it was incredibly fun. The side
Wow.
events. I didn't go to the main conference much. I think we went for like 20 minutes or something one day.
Rad.
Yeah, but
It
it's
was
all
good.
about that. Yeah, it was all about the side events. It was great vibes. So that's why I'm saying you have to be there. It's going to be so much fun meeting you also in real life.
Well, here's the problem is that I don't like fun. I like work. That's always the problem. I just like to be working on things. So I go to New York and I go crazy. Last time I went there, I went to the art store and I just bought tons of markers and crayons and everywhere I showed up, like any event, I was just like, here, I just like threw them out on the table. I was like, let's all draw or do. I want to be like, making stuff. Like, I love seeing, but it's like a balance because, I love people so much. And so I love to see everybody. And I'd go crazy if I let myself, play too much and have too much fun. So I'll try to stop working. But I have some really crazy stuff I want to do this year, including some physical work and stuff.
So cool.
What physicals?
I made over the past couple of years, I made like some large format 3D printed work. It's like painted with like auto body paint. It's really insane. And I was trying to build like a contract for auctioning it as like an NFT, but I'm not sure if that's the way to do it, or maybe it should just be a physical work or a show or something. So it's still something I'm developing.
It's really interesting, and I see a lot of different ways artists go about linking the physical work to the digital, or the digital to the physical, however you want to define it. But there is no standard recipe for it. So it seems there's like many ways to do it. There is not just one way to go about it.
Definitely. I like how you're like, is it physical or digital It's like, what came first, the like spiritual world or like the physical world? It's like,
the chicken and
because
the
we
egg.
kind of like, we like you kind of come from like nothing, almost like the spiritual like being into this like physical experience, and then we try and evaporate ourselves back into the digital, the spiritual. Like the internet's just like a giant spirit we all live within. It's kind of wild.
Do you do any psychedelics, or do you do any drugs in your work?
JoyWorld is drugs. I do JoyWorld.
That's the drug. That's the drug, right?
JoyWorld is a drug. Joy is a drug. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite joy, or do you have like a one that
My
has
favorite
like a
joy is
special place in your heart?
Power Flower and 2020 Joy. I keep refusing to sell those. I like at one point there were like some crazy offers for Power Flower. But I built this whole really crazy like garden scene, like this whole like this I don't want to say too much about it, but it's like a garden. There's all these joys for it. But then like at the time I was making it, I started hanging out with Jimmy Buffett and I started making stuff for like what we were calling virtual vinyl island. And that's when I made the wobbler, which was the wobbler gets mixed up. He's like trying to make music and he makes a cake, and he's trying to make a cake, he makes music. So he's like totally mixed up. So it's like that was the time I made that, because it's like I was also building like this whole world basically for Power Flower. So Power Flower is very special to me because there's so much unrevealed art related to it. And then 2020 Joy, which is me, because my friend Oz owns Original Joy, so I can't have that. So I have 2020 Joy. So yeah, I kind of also one of my other favorites is Joy is a Cockroach, which is also me, because like, as you can tell, it's very egoic. And I like all the ones basically that have like a mini Joy or like a nano Joy in them. Also like Pet Artist. I think Pet Artist was fun to make, which is the most recent Joy, because I'm inside of Pet Artist and I'm split in two, and it's kind of like because like there was all these like controversies coming up with like Blur and OpenSea, all these things going on, and it's like there's all this like controversy, and it's like the almost like the marketplaces wanted to shift and just take care of the collectors more, like shift off the balance and be like, let's focus on the people collecting, that's where the money is. So then it's like almost like being a pet or something. All of a sudden it's like you start to lose
How
control
nice.
because you get
How nice is to
Yeah.
be immune from all of that, right? Sheltered by your
Yeah.
own contract.
Well, see, it's still affected. Affects if you put it wherever you put it. There's no way to actually
Mm,
guarantee. Even though I write in the contract, it says get the these are guaranteed. You have to pay royalty or whatever. Or even though my like the terms and service the lawyer made for the JoyWorld website is like you have to legally pay this or we'll sue you. It's like it's stupid. I'm not going to do anything, but it's like it's like I'm from the weird like world of crypto gaming, right? So it's like code is law. So it's like yeah, that's the way the game works. So it's like if the marketplaces
yeah.
want to change the game, that's totally. I think it's fine. I think it's kind of like okay, now what? How does the art evolve? What happens next? I think it's more interesting than it is like something to like I don't know, throwing up your hands at a task doesn't get anything done. So it's like, I like to kind of like poke fun of it in the art or kind of like, so that's where Pet Artist is like, he's in like this red wheel and a blue wheel. Like he's being kind of torn between like these marketplaces and these ideas. Um, and then also he's like kind of being overwhelmed because there's so much, because like, I was a big believer that every artist should have their own marketplace on their website and there shouldn't be like all these big marketplaces, but then I kind of also gave in to like this is like better exposure to be these places. So there's all these
I
balances,
don't
and
think
so
you
I
were
think that's
wrong.
just
I think
what I
it
played
should
with.
be both. I think it should be
Yeah.
both. Like CryptoPunks showed the way. Like you have a nice
Oh yeah,
project,
definitely.
put the work, make a marketplace on your website. You can't rely on other marketplaces. I think it's yeah. I think you were right. It's a good
It's a
idea.
balance though too, because I used to be like, yeah, artists should do this, but I'm like, I don't really think every artist should like write a contract or have to build a marketplace. I
Yeah,
think it's
there's a
cool, and
right
I
balance for
wish
everybody.
we could.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really wish somebody just like, yeah, we could do it, but I don't know. I'm trying to not build those tools now. I'm trying to like put all my time into like, how can I build better art tools, and then how can I build virtual experience for JoyWorld? How can I like make sure collectors have access to all their 3D files? Because like that's still stuff I'm working on. So that's where I like to point out these things just very in a way that maybe I just see it in art and I can laugh about it. It's like I live in the philosophy like if you're gonna laugh about something in 10 years, you might as well laugh about it today. So it's like it's funny, it's all fun.
What were the artists that shaped your aesthetic and your mind? Maybe cartoons you watched as a kid, or like who are the artists that you admire the most?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad's a wildlife artist, and he makes like huge lost wax bronze castings of like he's like 14-foot geese like flying wingtip to wingtip that had to be like wind tunnel tested to be able to be on the prairie. So he's like very technical art, very much like accurate art. And so as a kid, I always thought, and then he'd do like oil paintings of like deer in a field, and it's like perfect, it looked like a photograph. So as a kid, I always thought like that you had to make the most technical best thing. I was like, and it's about like reproducing reality. So and then like my dad was very focused on working, so it's like if you wanted to hang out with my dad, you had to be working on art to get his like attention. So I was just like, he'd roll out like a giant roll of butcher paper in the hallway, and he'd give me a bunch of watercolors, and he'd be like, fill this up, like paint a meadow with deer and ducks. I want to see deer and a duck. I want a goose, like a whole list of things. So then
So
as a kid, you're thinking
your dad was
composition and like how
doing
does this
like
work.
photorealism, right?
Yeah, photorealism. Yeah,
Mm,
like oil painting,
oil
painting in
painting. Okay,
acoustics.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah,
and like lots of stuff like
very
that. And then
technical.
yeah, and lots of bronze casting. So they'd like take
Mhm.
me to the foundry. And like as a kid, you're like a little. But I grew up in my grandpa showed up at my house when I was 13, and he's all, "Hey, you're an adult now. You work on my farm." So I worked on grandpa's farm. And he pays you $200 a summer to like fix tractors and like drive from sun up to sundown. So it's like to me, like it's like as a kid, I go with my dad to the foundry, to the art foundry, and I just work basically. As a little kid, I probably shouldn't have been working, but it's just like somebody be like, "Hey, polish these rocks." I'm like, "Sure, I'll polish these rocks." It's like always kind of just making art. But it wasn't until I was like in high school, and like a friend showed me a book of Salvador Dali's work, And it was like, whoa, it's like, it's a very like trippy kind of like hippie friend. He's just like, yo, check this out. He's like, art can be so much more than like just an accurate picture. It can be like a dream. It can be. And then I got real obsessed from Dolly's work of the idea of like programmable dreams. I think I saw a movie called The Cell, and I got really I love the idea of like if you could build a dream and then like take people there. And so that really pushed me into like why make more art. It's like, how can you have a dream and then take people there kind of idea. But yeah, I got inspired by lots of work over time. A lot of like I like Warhol's work in a way of like, a lot of people don't think about like acrylic paint became a thing about the time Warhol became a thing. So it's like, actually that's part is just because he's playing off the novelty of the medium, and able to produce at that speed, because you couldn't produce that fast with like oil paints or that kind of like poppy aesthetic with like the pigments they were using. So I just think things like that are interesting too, like artists who play with the material of their time. Really, all
Yeah.
art, all really really well known art from its time, almost a lot of it is just like because they were kind of mastering the medium of the time. So it's like whenever like expressionism started happening was because artists didn't have to you didn't have to be like a physicist, and you didn't have to be able, like mix paint in your studio. You just had tubes of paint and you could go outside and paint. So it changed the whole aesthetic of the art. So that's
On
where
that
we're at
on
now with
that
NFTs,
notion,
crypto,
yeah, I was going to ask, so do
and
you believe now
yeah,
that we are
VR.
experimenting with that? Yeah.
Yeah. I think VR right now.
Mm.
VR is the tube and an oil paint. It's like the acrylic paint moment. It's like the photo, like a camera, and people are like, "Oh, painting's dead," but painting wasn't dead. It's just a new tool, a new novelty. It's like kind of silly to say, but art is a really good art is kind of just really good novelty, like being like the best at the newest novelist, like most exciting thing, because doing that pushes everybody forward. It changes things, and it's very important. Like life can be so simple as like your life can be as simple as like having preferences and exercising those preferences, and then in that way you inspire everybody to live in better or newer or exciting ways. So yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
kind of just I'm like, this is the thing. This is the if there was something more, like if I could just plug Neuralink into my brain and take you to JoyWorld, that's what I'll do. Like that's what we'll do next. Like whatever I got to do to like have this crazy, fun, keep having the, these crazy experiences, like visual trips, because like that's the job of an artist too, is like to take you somewhere new, to make it exciting. I think it's important.
Man, people don't understand how like intertwined like human souls are with art. Like even since we were cavemen, they would just take charcoal, they would put their hand on the wall, and they would look at it for like hours. I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
days or whatever. And now it's impossible to live without art. Imagine living one day without like wearing plain clothes, not listening to music, not watching any shows or listening to the radio while driving. I mean,
everyone being the same. Well,
yeah,
honestly,
like
I
it
think we
would
are
be
right there.
impossible, right?
No, I think that's literally. I don't think we live at the end of time. I think we're like basically we're no different than people living in the 70s and just starting to get computers and stuff. Like, yo, this is just the beginning of everything. Like, we haven't had any art. Like, it's been very, very much not part of being on Earth. It's been like a small, special
Mm.
praise thing. I actually like, why isn't there more? Why aren't there cars that look like giant like candy canes and like weird shit happen? Like, can't we live in a like, why can't there be more like crazy shaped houses? Why do we all have to live in a shoebox? I think it's partially because we're on some kind of, like timelines are like a dime a dozen, and this is just the timeline we're on. And in that way, if you think about that, it's absolutely your duty to do something wild and amazing, and try and inspire everybody else to do something crazier, because it's like if you're on that timeline, then it's like let's make it more art, let's make it more like, why can't I live in a giant like turtle shell that's like
Very
yellow and
interesting,
hot
man.
pink, and like it's
Yeah.
just like I feel like we're not there yet. We're just starting the
Yeah,
age of
but
the Aquarius,
continuing on that thought, you say we are just starting. We see technology evolving, and the rate of the evolution of technology is accelerating as well.
Hmm.
So the rate that we are evolving is also accelerating at a very high speed. Do
Yeah.
you think that this will be a constant state of humanity from now on? That we are always in the beginning of something? Like every generation is constantly like at the beginning of something super insane, and that's not going to stop. So maybe it's not like that unique. We feel so unique, but like maybe it's like
I
how
think
it's
like
going
we
to
want.
be from now on.
I think we all desire like yeah, definitely like, and there should be more people, and that will cause more fragmentation and more things happening. I think it is like that's like you start getting into the concept like if time's not moving or if we're going forward or going backwards in time, but definitely everything's going to move into more complexity. And when I was saying at the beginning I used to be a minimalist, and now I say I'm a maximalist, and I believe that there should be more things, and you should embrace the idea of more things happening and take on more things and be willing to like be more excited and have more fun, and to do more things. I think those are actually good things. We're actually kind of all being programmed on a certain timeline of like don't have fun and don't have anything and be miserable, and don't do well and don't build things. I think a lot of people kind of want us on that controlled timeline, but it's like no, like you should build things. You should expand massively. So actually, I think minimalism is a very nice concept, and it's good for like Zen and to clear your mind and to meditate. But I don't think there's anything wrong with like collecting like 10,000 Lego minifigures if that's what makes you wake up in the morning and get excited, or if you want to, if I want to make 100,000 joy smileys, then maybe I'll just wake up and do it. It's like I think we should embrace this idea of expansion for humanity, because humanity is like it's the ultimate. That's why there was so much blood sacrifice and stuff in the early times, because it's like of everything on the planet, the highest technology is like human blood. It's like the human, the essence is like they're trying to figure out, it's like what's this essence of this of us, because we are like the ultimate thing coming off of radiating off the earth, peopling off the earth. So I think yeah, expansion, trying to make sure everybody has more things, like I think it's fine. So I
I,
embrace the maximalism.
I love how you put it
Sorry,
that you
Dieter
used to
Rams.
be. I love how you put it that you used to be a minimalist, but now you're a maximalist. And thinking back, you said you used to dress in black, and now you dress in yellow. So I'm putting it two and two together.
Yeah, yeah. Maximalize it. Why not? Like why try and why try and mute our fires, Why try and dim our lights? It's like silly. Like everybody should just express themselves in their fullest. It's
Yes,
very challenging because there's a lot of people don't want you to do it. but
exactly. And
but you'll find there's more people that want you to do it than don't. Like people stop me every day and say thank you for addressing this way, or like things like that. It's kind of silly, but it's like no, it's important for them and for me.
what should we expect to see from John and Joy World in 2023? What you have planned?
More joy. Ever
Both.
expanding joy world. Yeah, more joy. And
More
hopefully
joy,
and
yeah.
and hopefully more joy in more dimensions, and a new timeline, an alternate timeline.
Oh, wow, that sounds exciting.
It's hard to say so much, it's like because joys are made in the spirit of non-attachment, non-achievement. um there's no way to tell what will happen though.
Hmm. I love it, man. It's an amazing project. It's super beautiful. I love the energy. I love the positivity that is bringing to the space. The attention to every single detail. Your your
Only the
obsession
best
with
for
the
joy
mission.
collectors.
Exactly, your obsession with the joy, I can super relate to that. So it's super beautiful project. I will be inviting you again to the show in 2023 at some point, and I
I'm
hope
ready.
to also meet you in New York. I hope we convinced you to FOMO into New York.
Ah!
Yeah.
I gotta be careful what I say.
Yes.
I don't want to promise too much, and then somebody be like, "Where are you?" I'm like, ah. So
Maybe we put
I'll
in a Smileys gathering. That could bring you over.
that would be sick. That would get me. I need to have a JoyWorld birthday. Also, JoyWorld's is it sixth birthday is coming up.
Oh wow, so OG.
Yeah, April
That's
24th. Yeah,
oh wow, that's coming up shortly, eh?
one day we'll have a JoyWorld birthday party. I swear.
Well, in the metaverse, we can have it.
We used to talk about having it at the Dead Sea in California.
Maybe we should put it together in the art house that Satman is building.
Ooh, yeah.
He's putting
I
a lot
love
of
that
work
idea.
into that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right. I don't know if you have
Oh man,
anything
he has some
before
surprises
we
too.
close. Yeah. I don't know if you have any comments before we close or anything final to say.
I just want to tell everybody that I appreciate everybody collecting my art. And I love you all. I think it's amazing that you're sharing a vision with me and that you want me to continue on the journey into JoyWorld. So I'll continue to be your leader on the trip of joy and be sure to get us there. Thank you.
Amazing, man.
And
Amazing.
thank you both
Amazing.
for having me on the show. It was
Hey.
Thank you.
wonderful. This was so fun. I totally lost
Thank you.
track of time. I
Yeah.
can't believe it. It was good.
Thank you so much for coming, man. It was such a pleasure and an absolute joy to have you today with us. I was looking forward to this interview, and of course, I will do my best to convince you to come to New York so we can meet you live.
Right on.
All right.
Much love. Be
Yes.
well, everybody. Be
Yeah.
joy.
Yes,
Gazette.
thanks everyone for listening. Gazette is about to get minted, right, Dudley?
It's live. It's live, and
Oh wow, we just dropped.
it's featuring actually Yellow Yuga. Curious.
Yugo, not Yuga.
Okay, sorry.
Come on, don't give me a heart attack, Dudley. All right, thanks everyone for listening. Have a wonderful night, morning, wherever you are. We have another exciting interview coming up this week with Arman van Tinder. I hope I pronounced that right. Bless and love, my lord. Take good care. Bye bye.
Hey guys, bye bye.